Generally, most people have already made that decision that they are desperate to do something. So the majority of people are actually quite excited by the process. Often I get asked if they're going to be able to eat food, if they can drink alcohol, if they can still have a life, but those things are completely possible. That's why I chose this programme as a nutritionist. What clients don't realise is that it is about eating food. It's 3 meals a day. There is an initial very strict phase that you have to adhere to, and then following on from that, we then start to empower you and your body about all the different foods that you can eat. Success rate is about 95%.
Hello.
We begin by discussing the programme. I tell them what's involved, what it entails, to make sure that it's the right thing for them. We're going to do some body composition and get you all measured. We go through a health consultation, and the health consultation involves a questionnaire. We discuss any of their health conditions, anything that they have, pre-diagnosed, and any of their symptoms or concerns as well. So it's important to go through anything that they don't deem as important. What we need to do is have a look at your health. So when I go through the questionnaire, I'm looking for any areas of the body that may have dysregulation. I often can tell through that process of interviewing and fact-finding that certain people will have more of a predisposition towards an inflammatory condition. For example, sort of arthritis or joint pains, or maybe things like even high blood pressure and high cholesterol, because those are all inflammatory conditions. What I need to just do is find we look at measuring the waist, the hips and the thigh, and this is the starting point. It's clearly important to understand what their weight is at the moment. And relax out. The other thing that I will then do is body composition analysis and measurements, and that will include looking at body mass, muscle mass, body fat percentages, BMI. It's essential that we break that down into fat mass and muscle mass, because once a client starts to reintroduce or introduce exercise into the programme, that can actually change the way that you read your weight. You can gain more muscle weight when you start to exercise, but continue to lose fat mass, and yet your weight, when you jump on an average set of scales, will remain the same. So the body composition analyzer is really important from that point of view, to make sure that we see that the fat mass is reducing and the muscle mass is increasing. When the printout comes out, sometimes people can be quite shocked. And in particular, the one that shocks people the most is the metabolic age. I think everybody imagines themselves as being younger than they actually really are. But unfortunately, the way that the machine works is that it takes into account the measurements of muscle mass versus fat and works out your metabolic age based on those. So clearly, if you've got a lot less muscle than you should have and a lot more fat than you should have, then it's going to give you a higher metabolic age.
But 65 is bad, isn't it? I should be 60.
It's only 5 years.
To me, that 5 years is quite important.
Okay, well, let's get you 55 then. It really helps me when they're shocked. All they need sometimes is to see it in black and white, and that's enough to get them motivated and say, right, I'm ready, I need to do something, let's get started. There have been few cases where they don't want to discuss them, but I would say in the main, the majority of people need to know what they've got, and it's important that they face that fact. It's important that they understand that their weight is X, Y, Z, and that their muscle mass is what it is. Because if they can't face up to that, then moving forwards, how can they understand how well they've done by losing the fat mass and increasing the muscle mass? I'll just explain the process of the blood test to you. The reason that I carry out the blood test is because it's a really important tool. So it actually looks at about 30 different markers. So we look at all sorts of red blood cell readings, white blood cell readings. It will measure cholesterol, breaks the cholesterol down into good and bad. It will look at blood fats. It will look at hormone levels in the thyroid. It will look at liver function. So as you can see, it's almost like having a complete MOT. And in order for the programme to be accurate, those blood tests are needed so that we can provide a really accurate picture for the client and make sure that the foods are geared up for that plan. Most people are worried about the first few weeks. So it's a change from what they're currently doing, which they know is not right. That's why they've come in the first place. I'm here to give them guidance and support and the resources and the dietary help that they need. Basically, that's quite low. Once we've got their blood sent off, once we've done the health analysis, they go onto my mailing list, which will send them introductory information to start reading about getting prepared for the programme. Paul's blood test surprised me a little bit because I expected to see more elevations, and in actual fact there weren't. So considering that he's got a few pre-diagnosed conditions going on, it's very promising because it actually means that it's going to make the job of the programme a lot easier. I've got your programme. Karen's blood test came back as I expected. There were elevations with inflammatory markers, which clearly ties in completely with some of the conditions that she's suffering from. So her nutrition plan has been completely geared up to be as anti-inflammatory as possible. So she's got some very anti-inflammatory foods on there. So just to show you on option B, when I gave Paul his programme, I was pleasantly surprised at his response because he seemed to be quite delighted with all the foods on there. So he was the person that I was dreading delivering the programme to because I knew he was not looking forward to the changes. So actually to get his response, which was hugely positive, was really, really comforting.
I don't think I was sceptical, but I've seen diets before and I wonder how effective they are. But I know this isn't just a diet, although that's one of the reasons and one of my motivations for doing it. The other day when we were taught, you said I had two sorts of fat. I've been there to a certain extent before, and I also know that if I don't see quick results, that I won't necessarily, I haven't got a lot of staying power from that perspective. But today I was really surprised at the choice of food. That was my big worry. Although I can't have red meats, the food that I can have is fantastic. There's chicken, there's lots of other things that I will really enjoy having. So to me, I looked at it and I thought, wow, this is not really what I thought it was going to be. So in that respect, it's easier to motivate me because it's not a brick wall. It's something that is there, that is tangible, that is possible to do. So I feel a lot more positive than the other day. I was happy with the other day. But this has actually been a really good motivator, even more so for me. I know I'll find the first 2 days difficult, but I think when I start the 2 days, I know it's going to be painful, probably, to me personally. Not painful, but difficult. But I think once I start going down the 2-week route, I'm quite looking forward to it in a strange way. But once again, I'm hoping that the scales will show a loss of weight, that I'll feel better and not have as much catarrh. So I'm feeling very positive about it, really.
I think Paul will find the first 2 days quite difficult, quite tough. It is difficult for anybody. The first 2 days are difficult for every single person that does this programme, but as long as he is in the right mindset, he's motivated, then he'll get through it. It's just 2 days and he'll get through it. Always eat one type of protein. Karen reacted to the plan quite differently. I was quite surprised at her disappointment. It's going to be more of a challenge for Karen because there appears to be a lot less choice for her. But again, there will be a reason for that. There will be, specific reasons for those foods that she enjoys not being there. But again, what I did say to Karen is that this is not forever. This is for the first 14 days, and it's really important to bear that in mind.
It was a bit of a revelation for me when we first met Andrea, and I found out that perhaps it was the food I was eating that was causing most of my problems. I was amazed, really, I have to say. So I'm very keen to learn and find out, if it does make a difference. Can I be pain-free? I cannot, actually, I just don't think it's possible after all this time, but maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But at least I'll lose some weight. So that's going to be good.
Karen will cope quite well with the first 2 days because actually Historically, Karen isn't used to eating a lot of food. So often Karen can go without breakfast and without lunch. So, you know, on that first 2 days when the food size of the food portions are reduced, it's going to be pretty normal for Karen. So I think she'll actually cope really well with the first 2 days. So the tables have turned now, and I feel that Paul is really motivated and really up for the challenge and delighted with the foods on his programme, whereas for Karen it's going to be a bit more of a challenge now because of these things that aren't there that she enjoys the most in her life. So it is going to be interesting.
If I'm being honest, I knew I was unhealthy. You know, I like a glass of wine, I like red meat, I like to go in the fridge and nibble, I love my chocolate. But I know that I've been eating foods that aren't right for me. And what I probably didn't accept is that they are probably affecting my health. I probably didn't think that. I'd put weight on. And I put that down to an age thing more than anything. But I think that having talked it through and reasoned through why these things happen, it's obvious. I mean, it really is. It almost jumps out in the face. But you've almost got to stop. It's like you have to stop, take a big breath and go, I really understand now. And that is part of the problem, I think. That's until you get beyond that point and you want to try and do it, I'm now waiting to see the results of what will happen. I'm hoping I won't be disappointed. I think if I am disappointed, it will only be through my fault, not through the programme's fault. So I'm determined to do my best. It's not the easiest thing for me, but I will do my best and we'll see what happens.
You come to a stage in your life where you know you've got to do something to make a difference in your life. So you have to make the effort. So I'm really going to make the effort and I won't give in.
In just over 2 weeks' time, I'm really looking forward to seeing Paul and Karen again because I shall be delighted to see that they'll be slightly less heavy. They will be feeling much better. They'll have a lot more energy and they'll be just feeling good.
I'm amazed at the weight loss. I know I've lost a lot of weight and I don't know how much yet. I did have a sneaky check halfway through because I thought, when you start to think, well, I haven't really felt that I should, have to push myself to do it. Although on occasions I have wanted to have some of Paul's foods. I missed potatoes and things.
Hello, Paul.
Hi.
I could see straight away with Paul. As soon as he walked in the room, I could see that there was a definite weight loss. So I could see that physically or around his tummy and especially around the jowl area. So I was quietly excited. It was quite a nice feeling.
The first 2 days were awful, really, really difficult. And I had to keep going through it. But luckily I knew that it would change and I'd been warned that it was going to be difficult because it was such a contrast with what I'd been eating before. And it was difficult to get through. But I was so determined to do it. And it was the fact that I knew there'd be some good food to eat afterwards that kept me going. But I was very close to packing up at that stage.
They were tough and boring. And by the second day, I was quite fed up with vegetables. I don't really eat that many vegetables at the best of times. So 2 days, I actually, in hindsight, wish I'd looked more at the other choices. I think I just went for the ease. And I thought vegetables would be easy.
When I originally saw Paul, I was a little bit concerned that he might not be able to stick to the plan. So to see the difference that's made and that the fact that he has managed to maintain the whole plan from start to finish and found it relatively straightforward and easy was brilliant because it just means that it's almost like, well, if Paul can do it, anybody can. So, it was so rewarding, really rewarding to see that.
The 14 days were relatively easy, apart from the fact that I had to get used to a different mix of foods. But the range of foods was great from my point of view. I loved having the potatoes, which I didn't think I'd be able to have. I loved the balance of the food. I loved the fruit that I could have. I still struggle to drink as much water as I need to drink. That's probably one of the difficulties. But I've got into a routine that I didn't think I'd be able to. I will need a variety of foods eventually. But I think the most important thing for me, given that I wanted to have weight loss, is that I've achieved that. And what I know psychologically now is that even if I put weight on afterwards, I can always go to this and I can lose it again. So I don't have a fear of putting weight on. I don't intend to, but I know for absolute certain that I can lose weight and get down because of this in the future.
I think I was so relieved to actually get onto proper food. That made such a difference. And I've actually quite enjoyed it, funnily enough. It's quite nice to have a plan to follow, and I've never visited the supermarket as often as I have, and my trolley is transformed. Vegetables, fresh food, no more pre-packaged meals. It's completely different. I had to take a photograph of it, actually. I couldn't believe the difference. But yeah, I've visited more often, more frequently, but it's been quite exciting.
With Karen, I could also see that she had made some weight loss, and I could tell that it wasn't quite as significant, but she had a certain glow around the face. I thought that she looked really healthy, and she looked more sort of vibrant. So yeah, I was pleased as well, because that to me, it isn't always about losing weight, it's about feeling good and looking good as well.
I do feel brighter, bushy-tailed really. Yeah, I do. I feel good. It's amazing, really.
Okay, ready when you are if you want to take a step on.
When Karen got on the scales, again, I could see straight away as the measurements start to print out, I could see that there was some significant weight loss. Karen lost 0.5 stone. So it's always going to be a slower weight loss when you've not got as many fat cells to break down. But still, that's a significant amount of weight to lose in 2 weeks. And she was clearly delighted as well. And I was absolutely delighted. And for me, to look at the actual fat mass and the muscle mass is really important. Sometimes it's not always about the actual weight, but it's actually about the fat that's being lost. And she had done very well.
And if you'd like to step on the scales now, please.
When Paul got on the scales,
A huge
I could see immediately that there was a significant amount of weight loss. So I was delighted to break the news to him that, yes, he had lost just 2 pounds short of a stone, which is amazing. And then his face was absolutely, he was delighted. He was quite shocked, I think, as well, to see that all that weight had gone and it had been so easy to do.
Occasionally, I had the odd twitch when I was craving for some of the foods, but I didn't feel hungry. I saw it dropping off me. The minute I'd seen the weight starting to go, it was no longer a problem, and I was really determined to achieve it. And I've achieved things here that I didn't think were possible.
It makes me feel very good that I'm being healthy, and I look at other people, I do, and think, you need this. It's terrible, isn't it? I wish I could tell them, but I don't.
When I originally looked at Paul's metabolic age, he was aged 65. And so today, when he got on the scales and we got the printout, he was absolutely delighted to see that his metabolic age today had gone down to 54 years old, which is it's a real bonus, isn't it, for anybody to think that suddenly, just by losing some fat and changing the types of foods that you're eating, that can have such a massive impact on A, the motivation, B, how that makes you feel. The psychological aspects of all of that is brilliant.
I think the thing that surprised me the most is that I've managed to stay the course, because that was my big worry. And in the first 2 days, when it was really difficult detoxing, I did have those wobbles. But because I saw the weight loss dropping off me, I feel changed, and other people see it changing me, and that's got to be good.
My fridge is transformed. Anybody that visited would open the fridge and go, where's all the dodgy food? It's just full of fresh food. It's incredible. Seriously. Even my daughter has enjoyed it. She's enjoyed it, and she's helped out, and she's eating the same food. So it's actually, it's good for the whole family.
One of the most important aspects to metabolic balance is about planning. And shopping can become a chore initially because you're going to new departments, you're doing different things that you haven't done before. It's a change, and people don't like change. So part of my support and mentoring is to actually show people how easy it is by creating a plan. Planning has to become part and parcel of eating and making sure that you're eating healthy foods. And actually what will happen as you get through the programme is that this just becomes the norm. Much like going shopping for all the convenience foods has become your norm, going shopping for fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, meat and fish, it actually becomes the norm as well. And it becomes a natural instinct as to what to choose.
If anybody else was thinking about doing this programme and started off with the idea that diets don't work, I would say that this is a diet and something else with a difference. You won't feel hungry. You will see weight drop off you if that's your aim. You will feel that you are a changed person, and it is absolutely fantastic.
It's not hard to do. It's the easiest thing in the world, and it just transforms your life. I can get into clothes now. It's unbelievable. Seriously, though, I can put on old clothes and they fit. So now I'm going to be putting away all my big clothes and getting out all my little clothes. It's great. Love it.
We've now completed phase 2. That was the most difficult part, all over and done with. Phase 3 is now about sticking with the plan, sticking with those foods as far as possible, and also about introducing oils. And that's a really important part of the programme because we need those oils in order to keep our bodies working well. So actually, now's the time as well to introduce exercise back into the plan as well. And I'm not talking about, jogging down the road or anything like that. It can be gentle exercise. If you're someone who's not used to exercise, then just movement. Movement's essential, and that will actually help to burn off more of the fats that you are trying to get rid of.
If these are the worst 2 weeks of the programme, then I have no fear about the future, because for me and my balance of foods that I was allowed, that wasn't a problem. So I now know that I can do it.
It's just been so easy. And I haven't had second thoughts. I haven't had really any temptations. I haven't wanted biscuits, or I've missed the odd coffee. It would have been nice to have coffee. But yeah, it's been really easy.
It isn't purely about weight loss. The majority of people come to me with the goal of weight loss. When it has the impact that it has on their health and their energy and their skin and their hormones and all the other things that may well be going on for each individual, then that's the biggest benefit to them. And the weight loss is almost a sideline.
Over the last 4 months since I started this programme, obviously I've lost so much weight, which is great. But the main reason I was doing it in the first place was because of all the pain that I suffered in all my joints. And I had no idea that it was the food that was doing it to me. So clearing the slate and only having the simple basic foods that were on the plan made me realise how chaotic my insides were, in effect, because I was having all these foods that were so bad for me. And in the last 4 months, I've only gradually reintroduced certain foods, and when I've done it, I have almost instantly realised the symptoms in my body within a couple of hours. So, for example, Chinese makes my fingers blow up and really stiff. Alcohol, very bad for my joints. Sausages, horrendous stomach cramps from a sausage. You just wouldn't believe it. So in a way, I am absolutely transformed by this metabolic balance. Absolutely transformed.
Now more or less 4 months on, things have worked out exactly as I hoped. I lost about 16 pounds in just over 2 weeks initially, with no problem at all. I then knew that I'd be going away on holiday onto a cruise ship, and I'd be eating a lot of food, and I did put weight on, as I thought I would. And then as soon as I came back, it just dropped off me again. So I'm really, really confident now that if I want to in the future, I can occasionally go to excess a little bit, but still be back to my normal weight. In fact, I'm hoping to lose another half stone at some stage to be the sort of level that I want to.
When I first started the programme 4 months ago, I was at my wit's end. I had been suffering a lot and I couldn't see an end to it. It was debilitating and depressing. So doing this metabolic balance has given me some light at the end of the tunnel. It's going to be a slow process as I reintroduce new foods. I will know what's good and what's bad and what I shouldn't definitely eat. So it's a long-term process. It's not an instant quick fix. It will take me time. So 4 months, I've learnt a lot. A year later, who knows? Who knows? I've lost lots of weight and I feel fantastic.
If people are looking at the video and thinking that Karen and I aren't overweight or weren't that overweight initially, the reality is it wasn't just about the fact that we felt slightly overweight. We also didn't necessarily feel that fit. And the diet has helped us to understand about the weight loss and how our bodies work. So it's not necessarily about what size you are, it's about what you yourself want to be. And we've achieved what we wanted to be from our initial starting position to where we are now. And we'll both probably go on beyond this and continue toning it up in a sense. We're almost toning our bodies up like you tone yourself up in the gym.
I've had fun. I've had so much fun. I've changed my wardrobe. I've had my hair done. Yeah, it's great. It's great to feel healthy inside. It's just a wonderful feeling. And I'm so glad I did it.
The thing that most people say about metabolic balance is, I can't believe the way that it's changed my life.